slowly reorientating her. And when she came out, it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Can I ask you about the rewind and how, if you could describe a time that you've used it and to good effect?
Yeah, the rewind technique for me was different to anything that I'd learnt previously from all those years ago, and it has been an absolute revelation, especially in terms of the double dissociation, because it made it very obvious to me that in that moment you're not actually seeing a person or encouraging a person to relive that traumatic event. And I think that is key to this process and its uniqueness, and what gives it its heightened elevation above all other processes out there with different techniques, like emotional freedom techniques and other, CBT. But for me, reworking it for the first time, or working with it for the first time, was an absolute revelation. And only a couple of weeks ago, I was working with a client who had been faced with deep trauma that had happened over a period of years. And this has basically happened from when this person was 6 years old, right the way through to they were about 16 years old. So it was a long time that they were going through this traumatic event. And this involved physical and mental abuse. And it was a very, very traumatic event that they carried through. And this was presenting itself in the form of anxiety, stress. The emotion that was coming through most of the time was irrepressible anger. So this person would have great moments where she'd be extremely angry and not really be able to rationalize why. And then there were panic attacks in there as well that would come from nowhere. And it became pretty obvious during the actual initial consultation where we were pinpointing where these problems were presenting. So I thought, what a perfect case for testing out the rewind technique for the first time. Like, she was that frightened about handing control over to another person that she found it extremely traumatic, Mark, just closing her eyes and allowing herself to be led by another person. And that in itself was very unique for me. I hadn't seen that before. And it did take me a little while just to gain her confidence and get her to relax completely and move into that initial relaxation phase. And when she came out, it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. There were tears of joy, instant, absolutely instant. In fact, I'm getting quite choked now, associating my memories with it, because it was such an amazing, wonderful thing to be able to see and know that you'd been a part of. And that trauma had not just been unhooked, that emotional trauma had not just been unhooked, it had been completely lifted, and with it, all those negative emotions. So there was tears of joy, and she actually sang a song that her tormentor used to sing and tap out on the wall, and she was tapping it or clapping it and singing it, saying, "I'm not affected." And over the course of the next few days, she would send me these random little texts of, "Oh, this used to happen or that used to happen, and I'm not bothered anymore. It's amazing. I'm so happy." And it was just an incredible, uplifting experience, not just for her, but for me to lift that trauma. And she's not associating those negative thoughts. She used to have migraines as well, and she hasn't had a migraine since, which I do believe was related to the stress and all that emotion that was there. She would often have skin problems, hasn't had any kind of breakout or anything since. And so there's a lot of other things that were underlying and underpinning that trauma that were also leaking out in other areas.
That was quite moving. That was a beautiful example of how quickly and how dramatically and life changing the rewind can be. And what you said there, about the migraines as well, or the migraines, that is not an uncommon kind of occurrence. I remember treating a woman whose husband had committed suicide maybe 15, 20 years before, and ever since she'd had these debilitating migraines, and to the point where she was injecting herself with some kind of medication and to try and alleviate the pain. And she had teenage kids, I think, and it was a long time ago. But I do remember after using the rewind, her migraines didn't disappear straight away, but they subsided, and eventually they did stop, and they've been absolutely crippling. So we can't underestimate the physical impact of trauma, because the whole system is so stressed. And what you did for her was you in one session you helped her psychologically, but you also transformed her life physically as well. Because migraines are horrible. So absolutely kudos to you for working so sensitively with her. And it's interesting also what you said about not wanting to close her eyes at first. I mean, I have occasionally worked with people, done the rewind with the eyes open, maybe looking at a blank wall or something.
Yeah.
Most people, 99.9% of the time, they're happy to close their eyes. But occasionally, if somebody has been, often it's an abuse victim, but we can still work in this way with the eyes open. And the point is that although it's a very specific technique and very easy to learn, it is flexible as well. We can be flexible with it, and the more you use it, the more you'll notice it. You'll fit it to the individual person to some extent as well. So, but that's a beautiful story. Well, when did you train with us? Was it on the last?
Yeah, the very last course. That would have been the October one, I believe.
Okay, and how did you find learning this online?
I found it very easy. Very straightforward. There was lots of backup videos there that you could watch with the obviously snake phobia. I bought the live pack, if you like, the real pack. So I had the DVD, but I do realise that that's not essential now. But yes, I thought it was very clear. It followed through very smoothly. So from one module to the next, and then obviously the 3 phases that we went through, and there's plenty of time to rewind. Haha! Do you see what I did there? And and go over the material again and again, so it would sink in. And I was reading and listening and watching at the same time. So I found it sank in very, very quickly, and I felt confident using it straight away, which I would hope most people would. But without that rewind, without it, I would never have been able to help this person in the way that I did. And I also feel that I am a much better person in terms of a much better therapist for having that technique in my toolbox. It will be invaluable. And it's also a very easy technique to master and learn, isn't it? When you see something work as instantly as that, wow, that is magic. That is one of those ain't life a wonderment moments where you really feel that you have a great worth in what you do, and are bringing great worth into the lives of the people that you're working with. It is magical when you use it in such a way to lift a phobia or great trauma, and trauma that's been happening for many, many years, Mark. And as I said to her, she was saying she felt so blessed that she was able to work with me. And I said, no, I feel blessed that I've been able to work with you. The blessing is mine, and that's how I truly feel.
Absolutely, and that is a very important thing as well. Is that we learn from our clients, but also this thing about it doesn't really matter how old the trauma is, because real trauma doesn't age in the brain until it's processed or released. So I was talking to a guy in America who'd done the rewind course, and he was saying that he worked with someone who'd been in the Vietnam War, which ended in the early 70s. And was able to sort of stop his nightmares and so forth. So it doesn't really matter how long ago the trauma was, because for the person it's still now. It still feels like it's current, and that is such a feature of PTSD, as we know. So yeah, and well, do keep me in touch with all your successes as well in the future, and all the people you're going to help as well. And it's really wonderful to get this feedback. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolute pleasure to be able to share it with you, Mark, and thank you. Because without your intervention and your great program, I wouldn't have been able to help this person in the way that I have. So, it's all connected. And I would be only too happy to share any future experience I have as a therapist, and also, coming back into the profession again after so many years. So that would be marvelous for me, and I would hope that would inspire a lot of people.
Yeah. Sure it will. So thank you very much.
Thank you.